Oh, that's crazy. Hey, peace world. My name is Wood. I'm in here late at night on a work night on some mad vlogger, mad YouTuber ish. Um, but I gotta get rocking with this review of this project. I haven't really looked into a lot of other reviews of the album. Um, I did see it mentioned as part of another podcast that I watch here on YouTube. Sometimes they did give it 5 or 6 minutes, and and then I saw where Skyzoo had some snippets of another brother who did a review in his car and whatnot. You know, the way that we do it on YouTube. I feel like the album is worthy of a proper podcast. Not that I'm doing that here. I know I only got so much time, but not that I'm getting into that here. But I'm gonna get into like 4 or 5 quick thoughts that I had. I do have right here a bunch of notes on every track. I'm not gonna go into that. I might do that on my It's Always Personal podcast. I might make an episode of it on there. I was supposed to talk to this. I reached out to this writer cat and we exchanged some emails, and then he kind of flaked on me and really kind of pissed me off because it messed with my timing. And then I mean I could have taken some time to email Skyzoo 4 or 5 times, but it's go time. The album is out. The Mind of a Saint, produced by the other guys. Um, Dope project. I'm gonna go with my biggest question right out the gate. And this isn't on any hate stuff. And I can't say that it should have been done. It's just a question after listening to the album about 8 times um over the weekend. Was it a missed opportunity? But I can understand why. But my big hitter would be, was any thought given to bringing in a female MC to quote unquote play Louis? And I mention that because Louis becomes such an antagonist this pat in this fifth season. And everything that she set in motion kind of warrants some, for her to be represented on this album, because she creates this watershed moment in the show. Yeah, she becomes such a formidable antagonist. One that comes to mind, a candidate that comes to mind immediately is Shay Noir. And there's another, maybe Remy, maybe. I'm gonna leave it at Shay Noir. I believe Sky was on. Maybe he showed up. He did a feature on her As God Intended project with Apollo Brand. I think that's where they might have crossed paths before. But I bring up Shay Noir because she played Claudine in the Claudine record with Ransom and Rome Streets, and she got into a character. Now I say that with and throw this out there that maybe with this personal project, Skyzoo might not have wanted to have to coach anybody. Like my expectation is up here. I don't really have time to hassle with somebody on what I want and what I need. Not saying that it would have taken a lot of arm wrestling, because I think Shay is very capable. Would have been there for the assignment. By the way, you can see right here with the retro t-shirt. I can't even think of the name of the album off the top of my head, but I support Skyzoo. Him and Pete Rock, the joint from a while ago. Um, so yeah, I'm super big on the project. No real miss for me on nobody playing Louis or whatever. Plenty of dealt with Louis all throughout the album on multiple songs. Another observation. One of the things that I think is very appealing about the project is the way that he masterfully illustrates the evolution of Franklin Saint from the first record, Eminent Domain, which I'm struggling with why that title. I know what the definition of eminent domain is, but I'm trying to relate that to Franklin Saint. Like maybe he says something here like since he found it's like the game chose him. This product chose him, and he went on to do what he went on to do with it. So I don't know, but anyway. But from there, the Panthers and Powder joint track 2 or whatever the title of that one is. We all know about Straight Drop. And then when we get through the second half of the album with the balancing act, Major, Brick by Brick, Apologies in Order, and then closing with Purity, where early and I think the other guys do a phenomenal job of adding to the sophistication of the records as it gets to the end, and the stakes are higher, the problems are bigger, more money, more problems. This young man is tired. He opens his album talking about, with the audio of Franklin talking about, I want to do this because I want freedom. I don't want to be in no office eating shit. I want freedom. And then as we go through Straight Drop, as he talks about Oakland coming through with helping him to show how to rock up the product, taking over the neighborhood, growing everything, hooking up with Reed, getting to the 70 M's. By the end of this album, just like in the show, Franklin is a prison. He's a prisoner to his ambitions, and everything that he set in motion. And he's lost his family. So it's a wonderful job of of the execution here. And really tapping into, like Jay-Z talking about the allure of the game, and Franklin with taking those principles that he got from his father and the black owned and in the community. I mean, he perverted it and twisted it, but he executed it. He just and we have this audio at the end where Lee, one of the best scenes in the show, where Lee reminds him when he didn't want to look at Mel, his girl, his childhood love or what high school sweetheart, as being a basehead or a crackhead. And Lee is like, what you think? You know, he's like, well, she ain't Wanda. And he's like, the person that once they get hooked on this, the person that you know is gone. So just a phenomenal job, even if you haven't seen the series. That's another thing. Some of us really can't even get too critical of this unless you had the time to go back and look at the first 5 seasons and maybe realize what you may have missed that Skyzoo includes on here. Only thing I don't know if I heard any real direct mention of Oso or Gustavo. Maybe I've just missed it. While I was working out, no real mention of the Mexicans. But this is the mind of Saint. But I just thought, we might have heard something, but maybe I've missed it. Another thing here, I love after track 6, 100 to 1. Track 5. Yeah, after track 5, 100 to 1. I love this little have a heart, the little interlude. It serves as like and I don't know if this is how the other guys intended it or Skyzoo intended it, but it sounds like an intermission. And now, I did all, you saw me while I was in the gym working on, I was trying to master this and get this rolling. I was ambitious. I made some moves. I made some mistakes. I fell upward. I stumbled into some things and then after this interlude, I kind of wish they would have used that beat right there. But it kind of signals, I know I'm going for 50 right here through these first 5, but I'm gonna take it up to the 81 point game over these last 4 or 5 records and deal with some heavy stuff, because the problems get bigger. the balancing act. It's all coming to a head. He's lost friends. He had the he was he was reluctant, to put in work. Talking about bodies, he didn't do none of the bodies there. He didn't do nothing with the gunplay and none of that. He talks about hiring shooters, but then there's certain things that he has to take care on his own. Kevin, Rob, he has to get his hands dirty with things, and then the split with the family and whatnot. So it's a lot going on there. Um, Another important question, and shout out to my man Latoris that mentioned this, a non-Skyzoo fan, a huge Snowfall fan who did recaps of the show, who has done recaps of the show here on YouTube on his podcast that come on Tuesdays. But when I sent him the video for Straight Drop, he asked me about, well, where's the West Coast aspect? He was like, I'm a little concerned that, how this is a Brooklyn guy, a New York guy, a pretty New York centric guy doing this. How's it going to appeal to West Coast fans? And I was like, good question. Good question. Excellent question. People are territorial. We got people right now, tons of channels on here. When some of these movies come out, why are African actors playing, American blacks? People have standards. You can't control what people's demands and expectations are. So I thought about it. And that's why, and I think this is where the other guys knock it out the park. I feel like with track 7, the balancing act, I think it's kind of G-funkish. It's got the bass, the strings in there, a real nice funky bass line. It's a West Coast vibe to that. And maybe if it's not like the straightforward G-funk, it's some of the stuff that some of the music that they replayed, that Dre replayed for Doggy Style. I can't remember all the G's and hoes stand up and all be accounted for, like that type of stuff. And then I think that song gives you a little bit of that. I also think Brick by Brick is similar. More strings, bass line, another West Coast vibe to it. So while lyrically and flow wise, delivery and all of that's, Skyzoo is Brooklyn. But I think he kind of keeps it, and I'm saying this because it kind of clashes with the show, because the show is so West Coast, obviously based on where it is, the Chucks, the way brothers in California. I mean, so it is a bit of a clash there. But was anybody from the West Coast gonna do this? Who else was gonna do this? So if you get there first, like eminent domain almost, if you get there first, then you claim it. The other thing, I was kind of shocked, no entire song to Sissy, his mother, who plays such a prominent part once Franklin lets her know what's going on. Now she is included in a verse or two, or there's a couple of bars that deals with the relationship with mom, maybe impurity, and then some of the later records in there. It is some songs, but I thought maybe a song to Sissy directly would have happened. And you hear at the end of the album when he says basically like, man, I tried. I'm gonna say goodbye to all this shit, whatever. I'm just trying to get some of my M's back before I go. Lastly, because I'm getting long here, and like I said, I got plenty of other stuff to talk about, but I think it's also a great way to close the album. I think Skyzoo went out of his way in the Instagram post to say and to emphasize or put the disclaimer out there that, hey, I know this coke rap, this isn't me. I got a whole catalog that illustrates or details what I'm about. I just like I'm having fun with this character. You know, I'm having fun with this show. It's an homage to John Singleton's show and his creation and his vision and all of that. Uh, I just having fun. I'm being creative. But I think the audio at the end that has the commercials from that era. This is your brain on drugs. It's some lawyer cat on some white collar cat on there talking about he lost his life. It's a couple other testimonials, and then the speech from Reagan. And I just think it's just an excellent way to say, hey, you know, I was on here having my fun. I was doing my rap shit. I was getting into character. I did the most with Franklin and appreciated this series and had my fun, but without getting too preachy and coming out with his own public service announcement. I think this the way that they put that little sequence of testimonials that they put together and the Reagan audio, which I don't even remember that speech, but it's a way to put a bow on this and say, hey, while I'm having my fun, this shit really did affect the community. It affected this group of friends. It affected this family, and it affected this young man. There's a lot of serious shit here. I just had my fun with it, you know, and life goes on, but some real shit. So I thought that was a very thoughtful and just a perfect closure to the overall project. Um, Tons of different bars on here. The one thing, something about insomnia and something with these dreams turn you into a monster as he was getting his business going. The line about the Michael Jackson line about I could turn this whole thing into Thriller, this whole neighborhood into Thriller or something with my beat or something that he said, basically turned all the fiends into zombies. The different references that the different bars about the one of my, I think if I had to sum up the album with one, it'd be two lines. At the end, he says something about Jerome warned him that the payment for all of this would never be worth the struggle and the torment and the pain and all of, you know, the money's not going to be worth all of this. But the other thing is that he has the line in here about the key to this is rarity. And the fact that we the only ones with it is who we is all we care to be. You know, and that's him being the first to get into this product. And they have the audio from Man Boy, you know, you and all your cheap dope, you know, your cheap cocaine that you can take over the city the way that you have. But it was about getting this pure product, as you know, without any kind of delays with it, without the hassle, you know, a direct pipeline basically. And he was able to go out here and do what he was able to do with it. So that's just a couple of thoughts. I noticed I still went longer than what I wanted to go, but I've enjoyed the project, man. I think this is on par. The only album that I can really see that's comparable was probably If Cocaine Could Talk, was it 7? The Revenge of Nino Brown by RJ Payne, where he becomes Nino Brown and runs into Detective Scotty Appleton or whatever. I think that these are kind of the only two projects like this. Fascinated with that type of creativity and the execution. And I think the P.A. Dre brother did all of Nino's Revenge here with the other guys who came through. I went and listened to some of their earlier music, and I saw a post from the other guys about they gave Skyzoo a beat tape like 10 years ago at the AC3 or the Jack the Rapper or some shit. And now, that's the kind of long game everybody was playing here and how serious they took this. I would love to talk to the other guys or even Skyzoo with a couple of questions. Again, the whole question about Louis, that's not a shot. I'm just, when we dealing with creativity, it's just it's a question, bro. Don't take it personal. The whole West Coast, West Coast tie-in and all of that. It's just a question. I think they nailed it. Like I said, the balancing act and brick by brick give you that West Coast appreciation for funk from my hometown, actually, here in Dayton, Ohio. So I thought they knocked it out the park. I hope others do as well. Shout out to the 150 to 250 people who regularly left comments on all the Skyzoo's posts, IG posts, Instagram posts about the project, encouraging him, praising him, acknowledging the effort to him and the other guys. Also, shout out to everybody who showed up to help. As I checked earlier today, here it is, 72 hours plus later, and it was number two after being up at number one on the hip hop chart. So 3 days later, after being released, to still be not, and the only thing that was above it was like a compilation project. I mean, a compilation album from rap songs in the 2000s or something. So really, it's number one on recently released albums. So shout out to the people who supported this project. I just sat here at the end of the year, and tons of artists that I like were complaining about the B dot who he had for his top 20. I didn't even know some of them people even dropped any material last year for 2022. But that's why I'm up here in the middle of the night with the setting to private so that I could talk about uh this project that I like. And I was getting ready to say, damn, I ain't even hit the record button on this other thing over here in case I do the podcast. So that's why I'm up here being the mad YouTuber, hoping that others know about what Skyzoo and the other guys came together, collaborated to bless and drop for the heads out there. Um Trying to see if I had any last words on here. Um Excuse me. And Skyzoo also, he's had the themed albums, the joint with Theo, and JJ or whatever, the Great Debater. The Wire has been incorporated in most of his projects, but we know that Milestones, the song about fatherhood, his Skyzoo's appreciation for fatherhood, that incorporated audio from Boys in the Hood. But he never really took on Furious Styles. So this was a bit different. This did elevate it to another level. Lastly, I'll say this, it's shameful to me. Shout out to Shay Noir. I saw where she said congratulations on Instagram. But none of the OGs, the GOATs, the elites from the East Coast and New York, none of them will come out and publicly say anything about this project. And it's deserving of that type of support. It really is. In terms of hip hop creativity, innovation, it deserves those types of flowers. But we are where we are with the game. So with that said, man, let me get on out of here. I just had to say my piece on it. I wish I could have done it a little bit better, but it is what it is. Lastly, was there any thoughts? Again, I could imagine trying to recruit somebody and commissioning somebody to do it and do it right. Any thought given to another artist coming in and playing Leon? Since Leon is such a support, is such a principal supporting character. Seems like he kind of deserved, a voice in this thing right here. Could it have been a Rome Streets? Not a bad call right there. But hey, I like it the way that it is. And I understand why it's the way that it is. So let me get on off of here, man. Like I say, I can't even think of my send-off. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. I'm out. Peace.